studied the whole section.
That's good. Alhamdulillah. نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي ربي زدني علما اللهم فقهنا في الدين آمين. Alhamdulillah, we started this story of Musa alayhi salam when he took his one partner with him, his servant, and they were keep walking and walking until the fish was gone. And Musa alayhi salam went to sleep, and when he woke up and he was hungry and he wants some food to eat. And when he asked his servant that, okay, can you give me my fish? And he said, oh, did you remember where we were at the last point? We were stayed for a little while and the fish went away. It made away and she's gone. The fish is gone now. So they went back to their steps from where they came from. And what happened? So they found the pious person to whom they wanted to meet. So on the first meeting, so Musa alayhi salam is going to ask the person which is known by Khizr alayhi salam, and he is putting his request to him that can I join you in to seek knowledge, the proper knowledge. So whenever you are going to ask, when you want to learn something from someone, you have to ask, you have to request them for this thing. So let's start the tafsir, and inshallah we will learn what's the new points we can collect from them. Fish jolting shock. Moses addresses the pious sage in the most polite manner. It is a sort of politeness that is worthy of a prophet. He puts his request without making any assumptions, and he makes it clear that he seeks proper knowledge from a good servant of God. Moses said to him, may I follow you on the understanding that you will teach me something of the wisdom you have been taught? Verse 66. The man's knowledge, however, is nothing like human knowledge, with its immediate cause and inevitable result. It is part of divine knowledge that God has granted him, according to a measure he determined and for a purpose he wanted to accomplish. Moses could not be expected to be patient with the man and his action, even though Moses was a prophet and a messenger of God. Looked at superficially, these actions may appear to have no logical justification whatsoever. They could not be understood without having access to the wisdom dictating them. And that is part of divine wisdom which people cannot begin to comprehend. So when Musa alayhi salam requested the pious person to take him with his journey so that he will also learn from the knowledge Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught him. So the pious person knows that whatever he's going to do, he will not be able to understand that. So it will be hard for Musa alayhi salam. So the sage understandably fears that Moses may not have the patience required to make him a comfortable companion, because sometimes we are with someone who knows more in specific terms, like suppose if we try to understand the position of the sage and the Musa alayhi salam, what happened? The sage was when he was in a water, he was in a ocean, he just made a hole in the boat. Everyone who don't have the knowledge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about that thing, everyone will be panicked. Why did you do that? It's very scary, right? So nobody will understand that. Even Musa alayhi salam didn't understand that thing, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't taught him that. So the sage understand that whatever he is going to do, it will be hard for Musa alayhi salam to understand, and he may not have that patience which is required. So he makes this clear to Moses. The other answer, you will not be able to have patience with me, for how can you be patient with something which you cannot fully comprehend? Verse 67 and 68. But Moses is so eager to learn. So what we can see, that Musa alayhi salam really wants to learn something new. So he just didn't let it go. He made some promises, which was, hence he resolved to be very patient and obedient, seeks God's help and places God's will ahead of his own resolve. Moses replied, you will find me patient if God so wills, and I shall not disobey you in anything. Verse 69. So whenever you will get a chance to learn something new, go for it. And if the person says no, you have to have this thing, that thing, so you have to think, okay, no, I will do that. Just show your commitment. So the teacher will also be happy to see you. Okay, if he is committed, then that means he will learn. So inshallah, we'll go ahead and see what will happen next. Okay, Zoya, can you read next?
Okay. The man reiterates the difficulties ahead, stating to Moses a condition for his companionship, that he remain patient and not question the sage about any action he takes until he himself reveals its purpose. The other said, well then, if you are to follow me, do not question me about anything until I mention it to you myself. Verse 70. Moses accepts the condition, and the two set out together. Soon afterwards comes the first scene from the trip, and so the two went on their way, and when they embarked, the sage made a hole in it, the boat. Verse 71. This is certainly a strange thing to do. The boat carried both men as well as other passengers. They were all in the middle of the sea, and the sage makes a hole in the boat. On the surface, this is an action that exposes the boat and all its passengers to the risk of being drowned. Why would anyone, let alone a learned and devout person, do such an evil thing?
So all of the people who were on the boat, including Musa alayhi salam, they were worried, like why he made a hole in this. So even reading this story, you can also think, oh my God, they are in the ocean, in a sea, and they are he made a hole in it, so what will happen to them? So so let's see what will happen next, inshallah. So Yusuf, can you read next?
Okay. Confronted with such an apparently outrageous action, Musa alayhi salam simply forgets the conversation that he had with the sage. A human being may accept something when it is discussed in abstract terms, but when he faces it in practice and looks at its consequences, his reaction may be totally different. Practical matters have a totally different effect. Here we see Moses having already been warned against apparently outrageous actions, and having resolved to remain patient, loses all patience when faced with a tough situation.
You can read next as well.
Okay. Moses apparently had an impulsive nature, which we detect through his life. Early on, we see him giving an Egyptian man quarreling with an Israelite a punch and killing him. He then repents and seeks God's forgiveness. Yet the following day, he sees the same Israelite quarreling with another Egyptian and tries to stop the latter. The details of these events are given in Surah 28.
So what they are saying here, that the Musa alayhi salam said, why you made a hole in the boat? And then they're telling that sometimes when we commit something, we just forget at the time of practice. So our reaction is totally different. So practical matter have a totally different effect. So whenever you learn something and then something happen in your life, the practical is always difficult. So inshallah, we have to make our intention and prayer as well, that may Allah give us tawfiq, so that we can apply whatever we are learning in our practical life as well. Okay, Josefa, can you complete this? Josefa, we cannot hear you. So Zara, can you read and complete this passage? Zara, are you there? Okay. With such an impulsive nature, Moses could not be patient when he saw his companion making a hole in the boat. He forgot all about his promise. Human nature is shown not to comprehend matter fully except through practical experience. Hence, Moses says in objection, have you made a hole in it in order to drown the people in it? Strange indeed is that which you have done. Verse 71. But the sage tolerated this with patience, and he gently reminded Moses of what he said earlier. Did I not say that you would not be able to have patience with me? Verse 72. Moses now regrets his overreaction, saying that he completely forgot. He requests the man to accept his apologies and not to rebuke him. Do not take me to task for my having forgotten, and be not hard on me on the account of what I have done. Verse 73. The man accepted his apologies, and the two proceed further. So, Tarim, can you read this?
There is, however,
Patience
stretched to the edge. There are, however, other strange events awaiting Moses which would exhaust his patience, and so the two went on until they met a certain young man. The sage slew him. The first action exposed the boat and its messengers to certain risks. Now there is the blatant murder of a young man without provocation or justification. There was too much for Moses to tolerate patiently, despite all the promises he had given not to question anything he saw. Hence Moses exclaimed, have you killed an innocent man with no cause of just retribution for murder? Foul indeed is that which you have preparated.
So when Musa alayhi salam saw that he killed, the sage killed a young boy, so he forget that he promises about the patient, that he will be patient. So he suddenly said it like, have you killed an innocent man with no cause of just retribution for murder? So he did not accept that thing. So let's see what will happen next. So Aline, can you read next?
Okay. This suggests that Moses was not unmindful of his promise. He probably remembered it but felt unable to keep quiet when he witnessed a murder. To him, the young man was innocent. He had not perpetrated anything to justify his killing. He was perhaps even underage, so that he could not be held accountable for any misdeeds.
Next one.
Once again, the sage reminds Moses of the condition he has made and the promises Moses has given, referring also to what he said in the first place. Did I not make it clear to you that you would not be able to have patience with me? Verse 75. This time, however, the sage goes further and reminds Moses that he said all this to him personally. Did I not make it clear to you? So the early warning was addressed to Moses personally, but he was not convinced. He had sought to be the man's companion, accepting his conditions.
So what happened when Musa alayhi salam first saw that he made a hole in the boat, and then he saw that he killed a young boy? So he was not patient at all, because these two things we cannot understand, right? So whenever sometimes it happens that, okay, in school you saw someone is doing something very strange actions in the school, and you said, oh my god, what happened to him or her, or what's going on, but you don't know what's in the background, how they how emotionally they are being going on from their house, or something like that. Or maybe they are if someone is snatching the food from someone, maybe he haven't eat from many days, right? So we don't know what's going on at the back of their life. So whatever is they are doing, especially if they are your friends, just think, okay, there must be a reason if he is doing it or she is doing it. Otherwise you should be keep quiet and talk politely with them, as the sage did to Musa alayhi salam, to remind them. So Zoya, can you read next?
Again, Moses reflects, knowing that he has broken his promises twice, forgetting it despite reminders. His regret makes him too apologetic, depriving himself of any possibility of a lengthy companionship with the sage. He gives himself only one last chance. Moses said, "If ever I question you again, do not keep me in your company, for then you would have enough excuses from me." Verse 76. This brings
because Musa alayhi salam broke his promise twice, so he wants to be sure that if I will do that again, I will leave you by yourself. You will get an excuse for me then. So let's see if he made that mistake, or if he forgets or broke the promise again. Come on, Zoya, read.
This brings us to the third and last scene. And so two went on until they came to a town where they asked its people for food, but they refused them all hospitality. There they found a well on the point of falling down, and the sage rebuilt it. Verse 77. The two are hungry, but find themselves in a town whose population are extremely inhospitable. They receive no guests and give nothing to the poor and hungry. Yet the man finds a wall there about to fall down. The Arabic text Yuridu and Yanqada is more vivid, making the wall almost like a living creature with a will that makes it want to fall. Yet the stranger occupies himself with rebuilding the wall for nothing.
So because they traveled through the sea, and then they went to a community and they asked some food from them, but they refused to give food to Musa alayhi salam and the sage. So what happened? They were extremely inhospitable population, those were. So what happened when sage saw that there was a wall which is about to fall down? So he built that wall. And then what will happen next? Let's read. Okay, Yusuf, can you read? I cannot hear you, Yusuf.
Oh, sorry. Moses finds the situation full of irony. Why should such a stranger exert so much effort in rebuilding a wall in a town where they were denied even a little food, and all hospitality. He should have at least demanded some money for his labors, and then they could have bought some food to eat. He says, had you wished, you could have taken payment for what you did. Verse 77.
Okay.
This signaled the end of this unlikely companionship. Moses no longer had any excuse to offer. The sage replied, this is the parting of ways between me and you. Now I shall explain to you the real meaning of those events which you were unable to bear with patience. Verse 78.
So at this point, Musa alayhi salam again said, had you wished, you could have taken payment, because he built a wall, so take some payment so that we will eat some food. So that was the last thing. Okay, Musa alayhi salam, now he has to be excused now. He cannot join again. So now what we are going to learn next is why he did that, why he made a hole in that, why he killed the young kid, why he built up the wall, right? So let's read and find out. Up to this point, Moses, as well as everyone following the story, have been subjected to a stories of surprises with no indication as to their meaning or purpose. Our response is the same as the Moses. We do not even know who the person was who did such singular acts. The Quran does not tell us his name in order to add to the general air of bafflement surrounding us. But what would his name add? The sage simply represents higher divine wisdom, which does not attach result to their immediate cause. It aims to explain that there are objectives of which we may know nothing about. Hence, keeping his name from us fits in well with the abstract concept he represents. So it doesn't matter if we know the name, but what he did, we should learn that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give knowledge to someone more and some less. So furthermore, higher force dictate the development of the story right from the beginning. Moses is so keen to meet this man, he travels until he is totally worn out, but his servant leaves their food at the rock where they stop to rest. But his forgetfulness is a cause of their return, only to find the man at that very spot. Had they traveled on, they would have missed him. The whole atmosphere is shrouded in secrecy, just like the man's name. So all made clear and simple. So Alim, can you read this?
Okay. All made clear and simple. The secret is then revealed. As for the boat, it belonged to some needy people who toiled upon the sea, and they desired to slightly damage it because behind them there was a king who was taking every boat by force. Verse 79. This explains that the small damage the boat suffered was enough to save it for its people. Had it been seaworthy, it would certainly have been confiscated by the tyrannical king. Perpetrating some small damage to the boat saved it from the greater harm and ruinous injustice which was certain to take place without it. Hence, causing such damage was a good and kindly action.
So the first section was he made a hole in the boat. Why he made it? Because there was a king who was taking each and everyone's boat by force, and the kids who owned this boat was not very rich, they were poor, so, and they had only one boat. So he made a little hole in it so that it will be not useful for them. By later on they can fix it and they can use it. So sometimes you can see that, okay, your mom told you that, okay, you cannot do this or something like that. You said, no, it's very good for me and it's I really enjoy that, or something like that. Let's take an example of the video games. These days you are very into the video games. So your mom said, don't play so much and don't use screen so much. You can damage your eyes, and you didn't listen, right? And after some time, what happened? Oh my God, mom, my eyes are so painful, or something like that. So is it like your mom knew it, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
yes. So sometimes other people have more experience, more knowledge, more than you. So you have to accept whatever your mom or other person is telling you. So let's see. And as for the young man, his parents are true believers, and we feared lest he should cause them much grief by his overweening wickedness and unbelief. And so we desired that the Lord grant him in his stead a son of great purity than him, and closer in loving tenderness. Verse 80, 81. So this young man appeared at the time to be deserving of no punishment, but God revealed his true nature to the sage. We realize now that he harbored all the seeds of wickedness and unbelief, which were bound to increase as he grew up. Had he lived, he would have caused his parents, believers, as they were, too much trouble. He might have led them out of love for him, to follow him in his wickedness. Hence, um, God directed his goodly servant to kill the boy in order to replace him with one who would be better and more dutiful. So sometimes it happens with us, like we drop something and we broke uh, our very precious thing, or we lose something. So whatever is happening in life, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's planning. If you lose something, there's a planning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will provide you better than that. So same as that young kid, to whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed his reality to the sage, that when he will grow up, he will be wicked, and his unbelief uh, will be troublesome to the parent and the believers and everyone. So and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to give his parents a more purest and more pious person, pious kid. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to replace the kid. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uh, told the sage to kill that boy. So that was the reason to kill that young kid. So had the matter been left to human knowledge, the sage could not have treated the boy except on the basis of what appeared to him. He would have had no justification in killing him, particularly since the boy appeared to be still underage, having done nothing to deserve capital punishment. It is not up to anyone other than God Himself, or one to whom God imparts knowledge from Him personally, to judge anyone on the basis of the nature. Nor is it permissible to make such knowledge the basis of any action other than that which appearance allow. But God may command what He wills, as He does in this case. So what happened, like the sage killed the person, but in the real life we cannot predict that, right? So sometimes it happened like the young boys, especially in the teenage, when they really started to drive at the age of 16 or something, and they are over speeding, made an accident and they kill themselves, or they do drugs or something. So whatever those things happen, uh, we cannot judge and we will go and kill them. No, that's Allah's command to the sage. Otherwise we have to make dua for them, and we have to make a special prayer for them, that may Allah give them the guidance to the right path. So, as for the wall, it belonged to the two orphan boys living in the town and beneath it. it was buried a treasure belonging to them. Their father had been a righteous man. So your Lord has willed it that when they come of age, they should dig up their treasure by your Lord's grace. Verse 82. This wall, which the sage labored to rebuild, asking no wages for his labors, despite the refusal of his hospitality from the townspeople, had a treasure underneath. This treasure belonged to two young orphans in the town. Had the wall been left to fall down, the treasure would have been visible and the two boys would not have been able to claim it. Considering their weakness, since their father was pious and righteous man, God allowed his children to benefit by his piety while they were weak. He willed to give them the time necessary to grow up and dig up their treasure when they were in a position to keep it. So the kids were very young, and the father was pious man and righteous man, and he died, and he dig up some treasure under the wall, so that when the kids will grow um grow up, and then they will dig it up and they will take it out. But if the wall could fall down, other people can see and they can took it away from them, and what will happen? The kids will have nothing when they grow up. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told this to the sage, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided the sage to build a wall there. So the sage then disowned any share in this whole matter, because it is God's grace that dictated all his action. So whatever the sage did, he did not say that, okay, I did it. It is because my team won, so because of me. No. And the same way the sage did not own whatever he did. He said that, okay, it's God's grace that dictated all his action. It was all by God's command, who had imparted to him the necessary knowledge in such cases, and others showing him what to do in each case. I did not do any of this of my own accord. Verse 82. Thus the secret is made clear, and all the actions of the sage, which seemed preposterous in the first instance, appears to be simple and wise. Now that the curtain has been removed and the secret revealed, the man disappears totally from the scene, and no further mention is made of him in this surah, nor indeed throughout the rest of the Quran. The story itself represents God's great wisdom, which reveals itself only when and as needed. Within the context of the whole surah, this story about Moses and the sage is closely linked to the story of the young sleepers in the cave. Both agree that what lies beyond our human perception should be left totally to God, who will conduct it on the basis of his perfect and absolute knowledge. As far as we know only what is told to us. So whatever is happening in our life, it happened what is in our destiny, what is written in our destiny. So but we cannot say, okay, it's everything is written on our destiny, so we will not work hard and we are not going to do that. Not like that. Okay, so we have to work hard, we have to be focused, and we have to learn each and every day. So I would like to know, like, what you learned from this story. Zoya, can I start with you?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
We started off when Moses was with his companion, and how he like murdered the person, and like how like
What lesson you learn? It's
lesson.
yeah, what lesson you learn, like how you can apply this tafsir in your life.
That like no one can judge a person's bad deeds, and only Allah can.
Yes, good job. And Josefa, right, that I learned to be patient. Yes, that is the first thing we have to Yes, and Muhammad and Tahrim's view also was
No,
same.
I was going to say something else.
Okay, you can say it, Muhammad. Say it.
Some people have more knowledge than you.
Yes, exactly. Some people have more knowledge than you, so we have to be patient in learning as well. So, Alhamdulillah, we have completed our third story as well. Alhamdulillah. Okay, Aleem is saying there is more to an action than it looks. Exactly. So, whenever you saw something is happening, there is a behind the scene, like there is another story, right?
The background.
Exactly, there's an other background of the story. So don't judge book by its cover. So open the book and read it, like the reasons of the action of the scene. Exactly. So inshallah, I would like you to have note down some important points what you learned. You have seen there's a empty page on the back, and share with me after reading this again tomorrow. Before we start, I'll ask you these things. Okay, let's finish it. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.